One of the tricks to these paper gaskets is, before you assemble, you're going to take some oil and wet the gasket surface. If you wet both sides of the gasket surface when you install the new gasket, then it won't stick to either half. In this case, when I disassembled it, it was stuck to one half, so I'm just going to wet the gasket that's exposed. Alright, with the gasket wet with oil, get the other crankcase half. And line everything up, lower it on there. Okay, now one of the tricky things is this white gear, this plastic gear. Okay, so we want to make sure that the shaft goes through the gear and nothing binds. Alright, now the thing's pretty well lined up. Alright, and we want to look at the surface and make sure everything's mated. So we have a little issue up here. So just keep banging away. Make sure the crankshaft spins freely. So after removing the crankstop bolt, the crankcase went together just fine, and the crank rotates as it should. The crankcase halves are now together, so it's time to put all the bolts in. So, alright, there's basically four kinds of bolts here. There's the two black ones, the two shiny ones, a whole lot that are all the same, and then there's the oddball gray one that's a little longer. The two black ones go into the inside the oil filter, and what you want to do is install all the bolts, but don't tighten anything. As soon as you feel any resistance, you want to stop turning them. So we put the two black ones inside the oil filter, and then the two shiny metal ones are the ones that go behind the starter here. Alright, and after we get these guys in, we'll put all the other ones in, and there'll be one that either comes up short or comes up long, and we'll figure out where that last bolt goes by the process of elimination. So using the process of elimination, we figured out that the long bolt drops in there between the oil filter and the alternator. So now we're going to just snug them all up. Okay, with all the bolts in and just lightly snugged down, we're going to torque them all. They're supposed to be torqued to 10 Newton meters, and it's not a good idea to tighten them all in order, so what I'm doing is going around skipping one, and then I'll go around again and skip the other one. Right, with the crank halves bolted together, you can look into the hole and you can see the groove in the crank. Alright, you can see the hole in the crank, the slot in the crank going by where the crank stop bolt goes. So we're just going to line it up and then put the crank stop bolt in.